It is so weird that I've had the same intro for over a year. I was just realizing that. I'm like, I need to record a new intro. Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever the sun may find you. My name is Walt, and we're back with Coffee and Concepts with our first guest, Lisa Richman. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I don't know. I'm not caffeinated enough. And speaking of
Where's your coffee? This is Coffee and Concepts.
that and the refill jugs right there.
All right.
What are you drinking?
Let's pretend that it's coffee. It's 11 billion degrees here right now, so this is like an iced drink.
Ice drink is fine. Ice drink is fine. Um, they have an amazing cold brew that at one of the coffee shops down the street. And it's just like the Starbucks thing where they run nitrogen through it to kind of like make it all fizzy and stuff like that.
Mhm.
A bunch of my friends really like it. I believe that cold coffee is heresy. Um, so I have an
Your
Ethiopian blend. Oh, go ahead.
your roast of doom needs to be hot.
Yes, because it's only good when it's hot. But today, I don't tell Josh. I have an Ethiopian blend, which is really a if you're looking for something out of the ordinary. And I drink all my coffee black because I want the taste of the actual coffee.
Mhm.
It's it's got like a higher acid content because it's very citric,
Mhm.
and the aftertaste of when you actually have the coffee is very reminiscent of blueberries.
Ooh.
So yeah, it's a nice like if you're just trying to wake up or something like that, and you want something that will kind of shock your taste buds to
Mhm.
open your eyes.
Mhm.
It's got a little bit of high caffeine because it's usually light or medium roasted, and then that blueberry hint at the end is really really good. So
Nice.
yes, do you have any specialty drinks that you particularly enjoy?
Oh, well, I can't drink mine black. I'm just too much of a wuss. And I also have a serious chocolate addiction, so I kind
Mm,
of marry the two because,
yeah,
everything's better with chocolate. So, at least that's my opinion.
that's what my wife
Uh,
says. And she has tried to convince me of this several times, and I'm like, no, I can't do it. I can't.
You just can't mess with the bean, man.
Well, in the beginning, I was very much, very much an adherent of cream and sugar. And do you know what JRTC is? Have you ever heard of that?
Mm-mm.
So it's the Joint Readiness Training Center in Fort Polk, Louisiana,
Uh-huh.
where it like rains 90% of the time. So that way the suck factor is that much
Oh,
more.
just
Um,
great. Huh?
and they are usually used for large brigade level
Mhm.
training iterations, and during one of those training iterations, the bad guys found our cache of like because they were dropping caches of equipment and
Mhm.
food and they stole our food, which meant that they also stole the creamer.
Oh, so you had no choice but to learn to drink it black.
I mean, you could use the stuff out of your MRE, but like that's like one packet and one thing. Some
Yeah.
of us are fiends for the stuff. So
Yeah.
eventually, I got back to the dining facility, put some cream and sugar. I was all excited. I'm like, this tastes like candy. This is gross because I spent 11 days drinking it black. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that'll kick the habit, won't it? I
Well, I
hear that
mean, okay, please.
I hear that Jack Carr, the guy who wrote Terminal List,
Hmm.
his character drinks his coffee black but with honey in it.
I've never tried it with honey.
I haven't either, but I
Huh.
figure if his character drinks it that way, he got the idea somewhere. So
I
I
wonder
wonder if
if
he
I
does.
could. I wonder if I could get that cat on here. I'd probably get a lot of hate because he used to be a SEAL.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And all my
Yeah.
buddies are like, "F those guys, freaking Hollywood."
Yeah. I know. I know. They issue you your rifle and an agent at the same time. That's what I hear. I didn't say that.
Nope, nope. I'm totally not cutting that as a soundbite for my cell phone. That is going to be awesome. I have you at 5:30 saying that, so yeah, we're recording the hell out of that. Uh, so, what are you working on? Something
I'm,
coming of age, I would say.
well, how did you know? How did you
Well,
know?
it's my job.
Yeah. STP, as a friend of mine used to say.
Yes, no, no
um,
judgment.
I'm working on two books kind of at the same time because, I'm a little crazy like that. One is in my Biogenesis War universe, and it's kind of a backstory, although it'll be it can be read as a standalone, and it's a coming of age story for the unit's sniper, Boone Brady. So he ends up kind of, getting involved in, on he's on leave, and he ends up getting roped into going somewhere where he ends up in the middle of a hostage situation, and he sees two unit warfighters who are just,
Next
impressed.
level.
Oh yeah, and he's like, that's, he was in the, he was kind of, end of his first deployment, and trying to figure out, what am I going to do with my life, and that just changed completely. A chance encounter, completely changed the direction of his career.
So now,
So
when you say the unit, you are obviously talking about some squadron guys. For those who are not in the know for that stuff,
yeah.
would you like to describe that a little bit?
Well, this is, it's my fictional universe set 300 years in the future, so it's not the unit that we know. It's not Delta Force or SFODD-D. Um, say that three times fast. It's I kind of blended all of the armed forces into one military, in this fictional colony around Procyon, called the Geminate Alliance, and I'm sorry, it's the Geminate Navy, but and they only have one ground forces, and they're the Marines again. I'm sorry, but the path there are other, the Special Forces is not Marine, and it is not Navy. It is the Special Reconnaissance Unit, and they are, and of course they recruit out of um, the regular military. And so he's a Marine, just finished his first deployment, and he sees two SRU, Special Recon Unit guys, um, who are also happen to be, just by sheer chance in this same situation, and how they just man up and handle this hostage situation, and it just blows his mind. So that's the story in a
Right
nutshell.
on.
And all
So
sorts of, really, all sorts of twists and turns happen in the middle of it too. So,
now, what kind of research do you have to do to kind of give it that fun but yet authentic feel?
well, as far as military go, I have no military experience whatsoever. So I rely heavily on friends like you who keep me on the straight and narrow, man, and make sure that I'm not doing something stupid that makes me look like I'm right out of the CW. Um, so and I read a lot. I read, Coffee or Die. I read, all the military websites, and I read a lot, and I kind of try to extrapolate. you know I heard recently that you can probably throw a dart at 10 or 15 years in the future, and kind of maybe sort of get in somewhere, some ring in the bullseye.
Gotcha.
But if 50 years, forget it. 300 years, it's really, what we're writing isn't science fiction, it's fantasy.
Yeah.
So I created, like P-SCARs, which were pulsed combat rifles, and cusps, which were, oh, now I've got to remember what the acronym is, but it's pulse it's a pulsed laser that creates a plasma that creates flash blind and flash bang, and it can be really painful, but it's non-lethal. So weapons like that really we've been experimenting with now. So and the military's kind of given up, I think, on the plasma weapons, or at
Yeah, I mean,
least there have been people who've complained about that they're not ethical enough, or that because they hurt people.
yeah.
Well, it's a weapon.
I mean,
So,
if you talk to guys like John Spears,
mhm.
he is very much a proponent of the bang versus the pew. Um, he's saying that even within the next 100, 200 years, you're not going to get an energy weapon that is going to give you the lethality of kinetic chemical based weapons.
Mhm.
So that's it's kind of interesting, to see because I mean, like, even in my own series, it's for the most part energy weapons, not so much because they're more lethal, but in a colonial sense, they're more practical. I don't need something to fabricate rounds. Um,
Right,
I don't need special chemicals or
right,
press, or I need a charging station, which I can hook to a solar panel, and charge
right.
up all my magazines.
And the battery technology right now is changing so incredibly rapidly,
Yes.
with massless batteries coming into existence, and it's going to revolutionize everything. It's going to revolutionize what we build our homes with, and
Yeah.
what we build our airframes out of, you know. And if that's happening now, 300 years from now, powering or maintaining a charge, um, for energy weapons isn't going to be a problem. So.
Yeah, Rick Partlow in his series, one of the series that he did, where it's kind of like first contact thing.
Mhm.
He had a very interesting thing where instead of energy based, or totally energy based, he went to a more a man portable mass driver, sort of like
Mhm.
a railgun,
Mhm. Mhm.
and like particle wrapped kinetic projectile. So you had the best of both worlds, and it
Uh-huh.
was a very interesting premise the way that he laid it down in the book, which was really a lot of fun. So, and then of course the main characters meet the aliens that have the problem, and they look like a certain uh,
Uh-huh.
terrestrial creature,
Uh-huh.
and you're just like, what the hell?
It's like, "Wait a minute.
Oh,
Something's going on here."
hey,
Yeah.
have you read the series?
I've talked to him about it a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
He's
Oh my
Oh, yeah.
God.
Yeah, he's contacted me several times about, so I'm not the weapons person, I'm kinda more the science person.
Yeah.
So I help him with his science, and he helps me with my weapons.
Oh,
So it's a
nice.
good synergy kinda thing, It's like, "You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours," kinda thing. So,
Yeah, he what do you call it? That was a fun read just because it
was
was
that Contact Front?
no, Earth at War.
Earth at War?
That was a fun series just because um it had a very like down to earth premise,
Um,
but then it didn't take itself too seriously.
yeah.
It had that fun aspect to where you didn't have to feel like it was a science class the entire time.
Yeah.
So there's the cover right there.
Is that the one where he starts out, by going up to
To a
this
space station.
artifact? Yes! He
Yeah,
did a really great job. Yeah, I've read the first part of that. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. The whole story is a lot of fun.
yeah.
Um, the but yeah, so having those weapons and seeing what 300 years from now must look like is crazy. So what are the sniper platforms like? I'm singing my song right now. What is the long range
I
designated rifles look like?
I don't describe them on purpose.
Well, no, I mean, like, what are they? Are they energy based? Are they kinetic based?
Oh, I haven't really even described that,
Ooh,
um, simply because Well, the problem is okay, now I'm going to get sciencey on you. The problem with energy based over a long distance is you've got to continue to collimate because
The beam will
the
diffuse.
beam will disperse. Yeah. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they, because yeah, once something in space leaves, of course, a sniper in space, how would that work? Yeah, usually the sniper's role on the team, if they're doing something out in space, it's more like Overwatch, which
Yes.
snipers do a lot.
Hmm.
They can be out in the field for a long, long time just observing and not taking a shot. But once they're on a planet or a space platform or a torus or a cylinder, that's different. But then you have to take into account the atmosphere and what's going to hit on the other end. Honestly, I don't think kinetic weapons are going to be that big a problem in a torus or a cylinder or a platform or a closed thing, because the regolith on the outside, the bulkhead
Hmm.
between you and space, is going to be so thick, and you don't have to have a whole lot of, it doesn't have to be that fast to tear
Yeah.
through human flesh, you know,
Well, look at a
and
45
be fine.
caliber.
Mhm. Yeah,
Very slow moving around.
and it can do a heck of a lot of damage
Oh
too.
yeah, yeah.
So
It's like shooting a a hyper energized basketball at somebody.
yeah, so I just some things I just really avoid, just because I don't want to get myself, sometimes uh, kind of doing the universal specific, which is, keep it vague, and
Hmm.
everyone knows what a sniper rifle is, sort of, kind of, um, is safer than getting too detailed and really screwing something up.
Yeah.
And since I'm not a weapons person, you know,
Now, when you're describing stuff like that, um, one of my buddies who writes, he's like, dude, you got to watch out for the OSF, and I'm like, the what? He's like, the oh shit factor, right? And I'm like, all right, what's this? And he says, using terminology that is so specific that the reader has to stop to look it up.
anytime I use an acronym, I always spell it out first
There you go.
and then use it immediately afterwards, so that it's so close in proximity. And I may even do it more than once, just because you need to make sure that you're not name dropping.
Right.
And I do that with science too. You can't just call out well, this, okay, all right, here's a good example. There is one weapon that I did design. um, Actually, it was for the Aeon 14 universe. I haven't used it yet in mine. It's a weapon that shoots a high energy particle,
Hmm.
and it does so. My background, I worked in radiation physics for 10 years, so that's the science I know. And there's something with a photon beam, a high energy photon beam, that at the very end, it has what's called a Bragg peak, and that's where all of the energy just goes, wah, and if you chart it up, it's just like, and if the Bragg peak were to hit, if I were to shoot you with this, high energy um, particle beam, and I were to and somehow magically hand wavy and figure out how to get that Bragg peak to happen right in the center of your body, you are dead, man. I mean,
Ooh.
it's because, and that's the only. Actually, that's one of them. It wasn't in that book,
Whoops.
but that's okay. The problem with high energy ionizing radiation is that it doesn't kill you instantly. And so it
Oh,
makes a really bad weapon.
oh, that's nasty.
So,
And it's
you know,
funny too, because that's how a lot of enemy snipers prefer to operate. If you look at traditionally how a sniper is employed, they on a battlefield, not so much in an assassination, but on a
mhm.
battlefield, um, they typically do not kill their targets. the idea is to shoot the target, render that person alive, but yet incapable of handling themselves on the field so that their
Mm-hmm.
buddies have to come.
So
And
then
when
you're taking more than one person out.
so when the buddies show up and like, hey, don't worry, man, we got you. And they start trying to drag or carry or litter this person out of there. Now
Hmm.
suddenly your single target is now a target rich environment, and you can lay the hate on 4, 5, 6 people depending on the weapon
Yeah.
system.
Yeah.
You could potentially do a lot of damage to a unit.
Yeah. Makes perfect sense.
So
It's a
yeah,
whole lot
it's
of logic behind that, you know?
a lot of creepy too. You sit through when you before you deploy, you actually sit through briefing after
Hmm.
mind-numbing briefing, and a lot of the benefit of camera technology becoming what it was, and the advent of things like GoPro and small
Hmm.
cameras that could be mounted.
Yeah.
Um, we were inundated with combat footage, and one of them was a dude. It was a Marine Corps unit, and the guy had gotten hit by a sniper in Iraq. His buddies went out to help him, and they just got picked off,
Oh man.
which actually later led to a very simple solution to that. We all would carry on our back this little, or a couple of guys in the squad would carry this little bundle that kind of looked like a rolled up hammock,
Hmm.
and all it was a 30 to 50 foot nylon cord and a D-link carabiner. So what would happen is you get shot, you know, and somebody's out there looking to pick the rest of you guys off when you come to help. So that dude would take the free running end of that cord and chuck the bundle to the guy who's hurt. You connect the carabiner to your drag handle, and then 4 or 5 of your buddies just hold on to this thing and run the other direction. Now you're just bouncing along and get dragged back to safety, and nobody else has to be exposed.
Yeah.
Something so
I'm sure it
simple,
doesn't sure it doesn't feel good, but hey, you're alive
and so are
and
your
so are your
friends.
buddies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that's pretty wild. Now,
Yeah.
does he? Do you go through the training aspect in the story of like him approaching the unit, the special reconnaissance unit, and saying, "Hey, I want to do this," and then they're like, "All right, man, here's the cake you get to eat."
I'm going to end it as he makes his decision. So I'm not going to, but at the very beginning, um, I do hint at, because the two people that are SRU are newly minted SRU, and they had just finished the Q course. So this is kind of their, they get roped into going to this venue where the hostage situation takes place. So you get a kind of a little flavor of what this sniper will end up doing, but he doesn't go through it. So I
Right
kind
on.
of hint at it and then move on.
Yeah, because nobody wants to see training anymore anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you happen to see that incident a few years ago from that SAS dude who was on vacation?
I did not.
There was a British SAS operator. I believe he was British. British.
Oh, wasn't the train, was it?
No, no, no,
Okay.
no. Those are the two the three guys that were on leave. So
Yeah.
this dude was just he had visited I think Mozambique.
Oh.
No, no. Anyway, it was someplace in Africa.
Hmm.
I'll have to look it up now. It's going to bother me. But anyways, he was visiting a mall in this African city, and he was just there to do some shopping. And a terrorist group takes over the mall. So when the authorities show up, he's like, "Cheerio," and does all the British thing, and he's like, "Yeah, I can fix this. Can you give me some body armor, and a rifle? Oh, and I need something to cover my face because reasons." And he goes in and he wastes everybody and walks out with all the hostages. I'm like, this
Oh
is like
man.
straight out of a movie,
Oh man. Very cool.
you know?
Perfect fodder for a book.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Um, uh, uh, gee, doesn't come right up.
Of course it
But yeah,
doesn't. Because you're looking for it.
no, no, it came right up.
Okay.
So, but yeah, he was on vacation, and he dealt with these dudes, and he's just like, look, give me body armor. And and when you see the image, that's what I'm looking for now. I'm looking for the image.
Mm-hmm.
When you see the image, he's in like their body armor. He's wearing a balaclava, and the rest of what he's got is like jeans and like hiking boots, and so he's not in a uniform, but yet he's like pulling people out of this mall.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
it was cool as hell.
Super cool.
So when does this come out?
Well, it was supposed to come out 4th of July, but I have a family coming in for the next 3 weeks, so probably won't get it finished. It just got through to alpha readers, and I'm 3/4 of the way done with it, and they've read it and like it. So that's always a good thing to hear. And one of my alpha readers is Special Forces, former Special Forces. So
Oh,
um,
right on.
that's always a big relief when you hear that. I have one scientist and one Special Forces, so that I cover the gamut with my two alphas. Um, so yeah, that's coming out. I don't really have an end date for the other book, but this one I'd like to get out sometime in July.
So
No.
you're going to put your family who's coming in for 3 weeks to work?
I don't think they're going to let me do that. But I might disappear on them in my little writing studio from time to
Nice.
time.
I
So,
found that image. So there's the operator,
oh wow.
and it was a hotel in Kenya.
I was just going to say Kenya. I almost said Kenya.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he was just like, and he was like, please put afternoon tea on. I'll be right back. And he goes
How
in
funny.
and just crazy. I was like, this is like, you make a movie out of this,
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
very cool. So,
Very cool.
but also we have a second book that you're working on,
Yes.
which is more near future than far flung.
It is. It's a departure. It's a techno thriller, and it's heavy in science, because that's kind of how I roll. Um, and so it's a guy who what I did was, and I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it this way or not. I patterned him after Johnny Kim, and Johnny Kim is he did 4 tours with SEAL Team 2, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Then went to Harvard and got his MD in emergency medicine. And then, because, why not? Let's have a third career. He became an astronaut. So obviously, people can decide to leave and not be special forces and move on.
Right.
So my main character is like that. He's and it's 50 years in the future. So you've got to now imagine what's the political landscape going to be like. And
Dumpster
so
fire.
hmm?
I was like
Dumpster
dumpster
fire,
fire.
yeah. But you think about what's going on with China and how China's kind of making inroads in Africa, and so you can kind of envision, what is there going to be a People's Republic of Africa? I mean, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so, would the theater then be an African theater instead of a, Middle East theater? Um, so it's all that kind of background that I'm trying to envision. And this guy had come back from a couple of tours, and he ended up then moving to MIT and getting his PhD in theoretical physics. And he's on to this discovery that DARPA, or the future DARPA,
You should
uh,
totally call it future DARPA.
future DARPA. That just really falls trippingly off the tongue. Um,
Or DARPA
they end up,
forward.
yeah, they end up financing it, and it's classified code word kind of thing, and something major happens, and spoilers. So now we're talking 50, 75, an undisclosed number of near years in the future, but far enough out to where you can't even begin to imagine, not only the weapons, but I'm a little bit better about imagining the science than I am
Right.
imagining the weapons. So, there's a whole lot of, when I was looking at that image that you just put up, I thought, okay, and you mentioned that he wore a balaclava. Okay, well, what's facial recognition going to be like? Now they're moving beyond facial recognition to gait recognition and
Hmm.
whole body recognition and all of the AI stuff that's going to be developed by that time. And
Oh yeah.
how can you go dark
The
50 years in the future?
there was a really great. Now I came out of a comic book background.
Uh-huh.
I used to work in comics way back, but at the time I was working in comics. Marvel had this great series called the 2099 series. Um,
Hmm.
and one of the better parts of the series was Punisher 2099. Um, and he had this great, it was a small halo he wore under his armor.
Uh-huh.
And anytime he was in any type of image capture, um, his face looked like a constantly shifting emoji, and
Hmm.
his body was blocky, almost like Minecraft looking.
Hmm.
And if he spoke, if it was recorded, it had that like hee hee kind of like tone
Hmm.
to it,
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
Bozo the Clown.
Uh-huh.
So it was constantly shifting his appearance and the way he
Yeah.
moved and the way he talked. And I just thought that was really neat. That was very visionary for back in the day,
Yeah.
especially when we hadn't really reached that kind of
Yeah.
technological sophistication with our surveillance yet.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
you got people who can theoretically hack into cell phones in a certain area
Hmm.
and almost like a jigsaw puzzle create using AI mapping for following a certain person, even if they're out of camera range. They might not be out of a person's cell phone range.
Oh yeah.
So I heard about stuff like that. I'm just like, yeah, that's some creepiness.
Oh, there's a whole lot more than going on right now than we realize. I don't ever I I make sure that, my I'm aware of where my camera is on my phone at all times.
Yeah.
And I'm a really boring, civilian chick in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, there's a whole lot. The Internet of Things, the IoT, is going to become more and more mesh, more and more distributed and decentralized, and it's there's just and we're going to have holographic. I have something similar actually to what you described in 2099 that he uses to when he has to go dark because reasons. Um, because it wouldn't be a thriller without reasons.
Absolutely.
Um, so yeah, it's a lot of fun, but it's also more challenging because you can hand wave a heck of a lot more 300 years in the future because it's fantasy and you can just kind of go, well, because it just happens and we've
Yeah.
already invented all of this stuff. So
It's funny too, because like you hear my friends that are still kind of operations up now, they say that with all of our technology and all of our science, the biggest problems that they have when they go to areas of a lower technological ability than us is the people that they are there to investigate, assault, or otherwise control. They use very low tech means in order to evade what we're doing. So instead of using cell
yes,
phones, they're using ham radios.
yeah,
They're using like all this
walkie
crazy
talkies. Yeah, yeah,
walkie
yeah, yeah, yeah,
talkies.
yeah. Anything, and funny you should say that because guess what I have in my yeah. Hmm.
you know,
Hmm. Yeah, I do that a lot. A lot of low tech stuff can defeat high tech stuff.
in one of the uh, there's a um, there's a thing now where some of these organizations are using kind of like moleskin notebooks and cut into the thing, the lining of the notebook. They'll have just enough space for a micro SD card,
Hmm.
but all the information that they need for whatever's going on isn't on the SD card. Um, the SD card is for matching up with what's in the notebook, but the notebook that you have might not be have the whole picture. You have to have like the cipher book that
Hmm.
makes all of it make sense, and it's so like combination of low tech, high tech that you're just
You'd
like
have to be a magician to figure it out.
like who's
Yeah,
got the magic
you got to
like
have the
this,
code.
yeah, decoder ring? Who's
Yeah.
got that notebook? And can we get it and get our
Hmm.
hands on the one that's in play right now? So it's
Yeah.
he was saying that there's so much low tech going on that people are going back to those methods to defeat the high tech.
Hmm.
Even stuff
Yeah.
like, do you know what an IBM system is?
I
AS400, anything like that? It's
no.
old like accounting software. Like if you've ever walked into like the DMV and they had that green screen with the the eight
Oh
bit,
yeah. Yeah.
right?
With the 5.6-inch floppy disk kind of stuff. That's just
Yeah, exactly.
the old stuff.
It's
Yeah.
old like inventory control software, but it
Uh-huh.
can be heavily modified because it's been in use in the United States for God. There are some companies that still use it. The last copyright I've seen on it is 1987. But it's still heavily used in places like Venezuela, Argentina,
Hmm.
Guatemala, and for those companies in the United States that um, what do you call it? They want that technology still. If they need repairs, they'll sub out to those countries to get those parts because they're still using
Hmm.
that stuff.
Hmm.
That stuff can be used heavily for like defeating modern hacking and stuff like that, because the hacking tools that most people use aren't that backwards compatible.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's craziness.
Yeah.
So
Well,
when is the near future book coming out?
that's a good question. I'd like to before the end of the year.
Right on.
That's about all I
That's if
can
you can
tell you
kick
at
out
this
your
point.
relatives in time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um,
So, it's been, post COVID, everyone's going, oh, look, I can travel now.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
The what if people want to find you and learn more about your books, the stuff you've done with the Aeon 14 universe, the stuff in your Chiral universe, where can they find you?
My Amazon author page. Um, or yep, that's the first book in the completed trilogy. Um, and that's the one that I Special Forces guy just reached out and talked to me about and said, hey, you got the stuff right. I was
That's
like,
awesome.
yes, finally. Oh, what a relief. That is yeah, you never know. That's You can also follow me at facebook.com/llrichman, or biogenesiswar.com. Either of those would get you to a link that could get you to the books, and or you could just do a search for LL Richman on Amazon. The print books are wide. You can walk into a Barnes and Noble anywhere and say, hey, I'd like a copy of that book right there, and they'd order it for you. Ebooks are exclusive to Kindle.
Right on.
So yeah, and they all have. And we didn't talk about SOAR. They all have pilots in them because
You're a
I have
pilot.
to, because I'm a pilot and I have to have people flying. So yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you call them Sora in the books?
No, they're Shadow Recon.
Do they have
So
like a funny name that they call them, like Night Stalkers or anything like that?
I do call them Night Stalkers, and
Do you?
but they
Awesome.
don't own the night; they own the black.
Nice.
So yeah,
Nice. Yeah,
yeah,
we used to call them CTDs, and they used to hate it.
crazy.
Crash test dummies.
Oh, crash test dummy.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they are incredibly talk about being on the tip of the spear as far as a pilot is concerned. They can do things no other pilot on the planet can do. I mean, they're
Oh yeah.
just incredibly skilled.
Yeah. Would you be
Um,
willing to come on and if I can get my buddy who might or might not have flown for the task force on here, would you be willing to come on and talk about pilot stuff?
Oh, I'd love to. I'd totally fangirl over him.
I got
Yeah.
I
Oh,
gotta see
yeah.
if I can get him.
Yeah.
Anytime I mention camera, he's just like, I'm not
Mm,
photogenic. No, he's
yeah.
just like, my mustache hasn't been combed today. I'm like, you're a jerk.
Yeah.
But hey, thanks for coming on today. Really appreciate it. It is
Yeah, it
always a
was a lot
pleasure
of
to
fun.
have you.
Thanks so much for having me. It was fun.
And make sure to check Keystroke Medium for all of your coffee needs, as well as for reading, writing, and everything in between. We want to thank everybody for coming out and checking us, and we'll catch you next time. And